Good evening, all, and welcome to Lullaby Legends with Lack. I'm your host, Caleb Lack, and in each episode I tell one or two short stories for you to relax by, spanning the range from the dawn of civilization to the age of information. All of our stories today are connected by something that all of us are made of: water. We're going to start with a tale from the Arabian Nights called The Story of the Fisherman. There was once upon a time a fisherman so old and so poor that he could barely manage to support his wife and 3 children. He went every day to fish very early, and each day he made a rule not to throw his nets more than 4 times. He started out one morning by moonlight and came to the seashore. He undressed and threw his nets, and as he was drawing them towards the bank, he felt a great weight. He thought he had caught a large fish, and he felt very pleased. But a moment afterwards, seeing that instead of a fish, he had only in his nets the carcass of a donkey, he was much disappointed. Upset with having such a bad haul, when he had mended his nets, which had broken in several places, he threw them a second time. In drawing them in again, he felt a great weight, so that he thought they were full of fish. But he had only found a large basket full of rubbish. He was very annoyed. "Oh, fortune," he cried, "do not trifle with me, a poor fisherman who can hardly support his family." So saying, he threw away the rubbish, and after having washed his nets clean of the dirt, he threw them for a 3rd time. But he only drew in stones, shells, and mud. He was almost in despair. Then he threw his nets for the 4th time. When he thought he had a fish, he drew them in with a great deal of trouble. There was no fish, however, but he found a yellow pot, which by its weight seemed full of something, and then he noticed that it was fastened and sealed with lead, with the impression of a seal. He was delighted. "I will sell it to the founder," he said. "With the money I get for it, I shall buy a measure of wheat for my family." He examined the jar on all sides. He shook it to see if it would rattle, but he heard nothing, and so, judging from the impression of the seal and the lid, he thought there must be something precious inside. To find out, he took his knife, and with a little trouble, he opened it. He turned it upside down, but nothing came out, which surprised him very much. He set it in front of him, and while he was looking at it very closely, such a thick smoke came out that he had to step back several steps. The smoke rose up to the clouds, and stretching over the sea and the shore, formed a thick mist, which caused the fisherman to gape in astonishment. When all the smoke was out of the jar, it gathered itself together, and became a thick mass, in which appeared a genie, twice as large as the largest giant. When he saw such a terrible-looking monster, the fisherman would like to have run away, but he trembled with such fright that he could not move a step. "Great king of the genii," cried the monster, "I will never again disobey you." At these words, the fisherman took courage. What is this you're saying, great genie? Tell me your history and how you came to be shut up in that vase." At this, The genie looked at the fisherman haughtily. "Speak to me more civilly," he said, "before I kill you." "Why should you kill me?" cried the fisherman. "I've just freed you. Have you already forgotten that?" "No," answered the genie, "but that will not prevent me from killing you. And I'm only going to grant you one favor, and that is to choose the manner of your death." "But what have I done to you?" asked the fisherman. "I cannot treat you in any other way," said the genie. "And if you would know why, listen to my story. I rebelled against the king of the genii. To punish me, he shut me up in this vase of copper, and he put on the leaden cover his seal, which is enchantment enough to prevent my coming out. Then he had the vase thrown into the sea. During the first period of my captivity, I vowed that if anyone should free me before 100 years were past, I would make him rich even after his death. But that century passed, and no one freed me. In the second century, I vowed that I would give all the treasures in the world to my deliverer, but he never came. In the third, I promised to make him a king, to always be near him, and to grant him 3 wishes every day. But that century passed, as the other 2 had done, and I remained in the same plight. At last, I grew angry at being captive for so long, and I vowed that if anyone would release me, I would kill him at once. It would only allow him to choose in what manner he should die. So, you see, as you freed me today, choose in what way you will die." The fisherman was very unhappy. "What an unlucky man I am to have freed you. I implore you to spare my life." "I have told you," said the genie, "that is impossible. Choose quickly, you're wasting time." And so the fisherman began to devise a plot. Before I die, before I choose the manner of my death, I conjure you on your honor to tell me if you were really in that vase." "Yes, I was," answered the genie. I really cannot believe it," said the fisherman. "That vase could not contain one of your feet even. And how could your whole body go in? I cannot believe it unless I see you do the thing." Then the genie began to change himself into smoke, which, as before, spread over the sea and the shore, and which, then collecting itself together, began to go back into the vase, slowly and evenly, till there was nothing left outside. Then a voice came from the vase, which said to the fisherman, "Well, unbelieving fisherman, here I am in the vase. Do you believe me now?" The fisherman, instead of answering, took the lid of lead and shut it quickly down on the vase. "Oh, now, O genie," he cried, "ask pardon of me, and choose by what death you will die. But no, it will be better if I throw you into the sea whence I drew you out, and I will build a house on the shore, to warn fishermen who come to cast their nets here, against fishing up such a wicked genie as you are, who vows to kill the man who frees you." At these words, the genie did all he could to get out, but he could not, because of the enchantment of the lid. Then he tried to get out by cunning. "If you take off the cover," he said, "I will repay you." "No," answered the fisherman. "If I trust myself to you, I'm afraid you will treat me as a certain Greek king treated the physician Douban. Listen to this next story, and I'll tell you what that is." If you're familiar with the Arabian Tales, they always ended with an entreaty to listen to the next story. Now, the story of the Greek king and his physician will have to wait for another night, because what we have instead is another story about water. This tale is a North American folk story from Louisiana. A more modern story, certainly, really originating in the 1900s. And it's called The Dog Who Could Walk on Water. The typical Cajun naturally likes to brag. Let's say you have a good hunting dog. Mine will always be a little better. I don't care how good your dog is. And there's a little story that I like to tell about two old guys who are always arguing about dogs and ducks. One always had a better dog than the other. One day, one of these boys, named Olide, struck oil on his property and became a millionaire. He decided that he would travel around the world to find a dog better than his neighbor's dog. And finally, he found a dog which had been trained to walk on water, a retriever, but it didn't swim. It walked. It ran so fast that its feet just barely touched the water. So he bought the dog. He paid $10,000 for it, just to prove to his neighbor, whose name was Pascal, that he had a better dog than him. So when he came home, he said to Pascal, who had told him nothing about the dog, I found myself a dog, so wouldn't you like to go duck hunting tomorrow? Oh, yeah, said Pascal. You have a dog? Yeah. He's not nearly as good as mine, eh? Olide said, We'll see. So they went hunting. Pascal shot first. A duck fell in the water. His dog quickly started swimming. Went to the duck, got it, came back tired. Olide said, Look here, watch what my dog can do. Shot another duck. Fell in the water. Olide's dog, the one he paid $10,000 for, jumped out of the boat, started running on the water. Pascal watched this. Olide watched too to see if this would impress his neighbor Pascal. The dog went, got the duck, ran back. It was hardly even wet. Olide said, What do you think of my dog now? Well, Pascal said, I don't see that it's one bit better than mine. All I can say is that it can't even swim. That's all for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this story and that you will come back for more. If you have feedback, a suggestion, or a request, feel free to reach out and let me know. Good night, sleep tight, and don't let the Knocknitsa bite.